All right, so the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, again in the spotlight after revealing a staggering 10.6 billion rand budget shortfall. This is for the 2025 academic year, Arabile.
Yeah, the announcement does come during the scheme's first ever board media briefing in Pretoria this week, where NSFAS leadership addressed key issues for the upcoming academic year. They also revealed that they are owed a massive 45 billion rand by former students who received loans before 2018, and they're calling on those beneficiaries to pay back what they owe. We're joined by NSFAS spokesperson Ishmael Mnisi to shed more light on the financial crisis then for the financial student aid scheme here. But Mnisi, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. Let's just talk about this big shortfall as it stands right now. How much of it is due to mismanagement versus structural underfunding for NSFAS?
Good morning, Arabile. The majority of the challenges that we're having, the shortfall, is on the basis of the shortfall relating to the disbursements that we have, the budgetary issues. So it has nothing to do with mismanagement, but it's the amount that has been given by government to the National Student Financial Aid Scheme.
So you ultimately don't have enough money to be able to disperse to students?
Of course, that is the reality of the situation.
And how much of that is caused by people then not paying? Because as we said, it's that 45 billion that's also short from people who haven't paid back in NSFAS and they received that money before 2018.
Well, the reality is that what we are talking about, this shortfall, is for 2025, arising out of the number of oversubscription of students to NSFAS. So we annually take all those that qualifies to be funded by the scheme. So on the basis of that, we don't normally look at the budget that we have. So whoever that applies and qualifies in terms of the policy that we currently have, we then allow them, we approve them for funding. So when we then look back at the budgets that we're having, the reality is that the two don't tally. And that is why we are now seated with a 10.6 billion. So we have made certain interventions to deal with this problem. Firstly, it was by informing the Department of Higher Education and Training and Treasury so that we can find a amicable solution to deal with the problem, with the shortfall. And we must also indicate that it's not a bailout, it's a shortfall in terms of the number for 2025. So we are not even talking about the recoveries because that is another issue on its own, of which if we had that money from the recoveries, it would be better. The shortfall would have been significantly reduced if maybe all the previous loan recipients were paying their dues.
Well, it talks to weaknesses in the debt collection process, definitely, Ishmael, which hopefully we can circle back to. But in the immediate, let's talk about the impact on students who can't register and who can't access funding. How many students are directly affected right now? And for those students, what assurances can you give them?
Well, we've got three categories of students that are affected. Firstly are those that registered during the TVET period who are university students. The second ones are those that registered after the 31st of March deadline, which is the deadline for the submission of registration data by universities. We also have those that who have appealed and we have approved their appeals. And the last category are those that are registering semester students, both from universities and TVET colleges. When you aggregate all of them, that is the number that we are talking about, which gives us the 10.6 billion shortfall.
Let's go quickly into that debt collection issue. And you agree that there are weaknesses in there, and yet it represents a really credible revenue and revenue recovery stream for NSFAS. Why aren't you able to get the money back?
Well, the challenges have been there since 1991 with the debt recovery processes of NSFAS. And we were then, taken aback also in 2018 when the scheme was, moved to a bursary. Because since then, our debt collection mechanisms fell short of doing what it's supposed to be doing. And as a result, we were not able to get as much recoveries as possible. And the second part is that we normally we're communicating to our debtors through bulk SMSs, and the systems in 2018 collapsed completely, and NSFAS was then unable to recover as much as possible. The money that we had, which we have collected before, could take us up until 2024. And this is why now we are sitting with this problem. But we are, at the moment, recovering from that, and we have put systems to make sure that we deal with this particular problem of recoveries.
But it's so weak that people who studied, decades ago are still, not decades ago, but more than a decade ago, haven't still begun paying. I mean, it's weak to that point. I mean, what are some of the oldest outstanding accounts that you have?
Look, we have more than 841,000 students, former students that still have to pay NSFAS. And that's why our debt book stands at 45.9 billion of it. At the moment, what we have been doing is at least try to reach out to those debtors who are within government, because it's easy through SARS to identify those, and we're making significant strides in as far as that is concerned. And that is the money that NSFAS is currently having on recoveries, which unfortunately cannot be able to transfer to dealing with the current shortfall that we're having up until National Treasury approves of us to do so.
Ishmael, the Higher Education Minister was sitting in this very chair a couple of weeks back, saying that it will take 3 months to stabilize NSFAS. Can that be done?
Since the appointment of the board on the 18th of February this year, there are a number of key priorities that they've given themselves. One of them is the organizational realignment and design, and which since then, the management has been working on that. We now have a clear picture of the nature of an organization that NSFAS ought to be. The issue of loan management, it's developing the policy. Yeah. We have made strides in as far as that is concerned, and that is why we went out public to call on those that needs to be paying back their loans to do so. The issues of student accommodation are another priority, which we are now working on the framework to strategically locate student accommodation within the NSFAS confines. The things that NSFAS ought to be doing and things that institutions ought to be doing. Sure. Issues of the digital strategy, our interface between NSFAS and various institutions has been amongst the key challenges that we are having. And lastly, the operational model, the capacity within NSFAS to do this mandate. So the board has been on this, and indeed the deadlines that the minister put are the deadlines that we have committed ourselves as NSFAS, that some of these things that I'm talking about now would have been resolved at that point in time. Okay,
so November is a good enough timeline then when it comes to that. Are you going to make sure that there's better oversight, better communication with students, because that has been a key proponent, criticism of that, poor communication with students and institutions?
We have made a commitment that we are going to prioritize our relationships with the universities, through University South Africa, with the TVET colleges through SAPCO, that is the organization of principals, SAUS representing university students, and SAFETA representing TVET college students. That is the commitment we have made, that whatever decision that the organization is going to take, we are going to reach a consensus on how this will be implemented and the impact that will be there to the institutions and students themselves.
But I just want to get a firm commitment on the minister's promise, because it speaks about consonance and working in alignment with what the minister is saying to the public. He said 3 months stability will come. You've got a crisis in accommodation, crisis in the backlog of appeals, crisis in debt collection. Is there going to be stability in 3 months, Ishmael?
Iman, there has been work that has already been done, as I've said, in terms of ensuring that stability takes place. And these areas of commitment by the board, we have already made significant progress on them. So indeed, there would be that stability that we're talking about. But remember, some of these commitments are even the development of the policies that will guide the entire process in preparation for the 2026 academic year.